So my question is, to what extent is racism still present in today's society? The lenses I used was historical, futuristic, and political, and within those lenses, I have different perspectives like the MLB players, NFL players, NBA players, American citizens, and influential leaders. Racism really took notice in the late 19th century, but it has been around for more than 400 years. Martin Luther King Jr. died in 1968 from being shot in Memphis, Tennessee. He was a civil rights activist and the creator of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which ended segregation in public places. He was also the creator of the Voting Rights Act of 1955, which outlawed discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, and sex. In this quote, it says, "We still creep at horse and buggy pace towards gaining a cup of coffee at a lunch counter." This talks about how Martin Luther King is really questioning whether a solution will ever come. Bob Dylan was a singer-songwriter. He wrote the song "Blowing in the Wind," which focused on the issue of segregation. It was an anti-war song during the Vietnam War. This quote states how the world really needs to realize what horrible things are happening, and Bob Dylan is questioning if anyone will ever realize it. Jackie Robinson was the first African American to play in the Major League Baseball in 1947. This quote talks about how the first MLB league did not accept African Americans, so the African Americans made their own league, but it went unnoticed by the white baseball establishment, which was much more popular, and Jackie Robinson really pushed past this barrier. NBC News released polls, and it said that 64% of Americans still thought that racism was a problem today. And of those Americans, 47% that they don't talk about racism. And how can a problem ever be solved if people are too scared to talk about it? This was the exact demographic shown on the NBC website, and it shows the other side of the argument. 3% say that racism no longer exists, but it once did, and 1% says that it was never a major problem. NBC News also released another poll that states 4 in 10 African Americans feel they have been mistreated within the last month at restaurants or stores. This was just last year, so it really shows how the problems are not being solved. Sports is a great example to show how the future of racism will lay out. In 2016, Pick It Out, a cell phone reporting app, released a report of racism happening at European sporting events. It stated that 16,800 discriminatory posts were made every month towards players or teams. Kyle Korver, an NBA player for the Milwaukee Bucks, released a statement on being white and privileged in the Players' Tribune. This quote talks about how even in a predominantly black league, the white players still feel that they are more privileged. University of Central Florida's Discrimination Department reported that from 2017, racial acts in sports went up by 11, and nationally they went up by 79. In an article by Daniel Kilvington, a course director at Leeds Bucket University, says, "At heavily policed games, there is one security guard per 50 fans. This shows how violent sports games are getting." Colin Kaepernick has greatly affected the media's attention within 2 years. He kneeled during the national anthem at a public NFL game, which later sparked controversy all over the world. Kaepernick and his teammates kneeled to bring awareness to racial inequality and police brutality. Many people have different opinions on this stance and whether it's the best way to protest. And in this quote by Elliot Almond, it states that it is a peaceful demonstration. However, a lot of people think it is just plainly disrespectful to our country and what it stands for. The solution to this problem seems so simple, but after all this time, nothing has really helped. What needs to be done is if something is said at a public event, the person needs to be punished and removed from the event right away. Or we could educate people on why what they're saying is hurting people and why it's just not right. And limitations are there's so many people at these events that it's hard to hear everything that everyone's saying. So there's a great number of people that just wouldn't be punished even if they did say things. And a lot of people would object this because of the right to the First Amendment, and some people may think what they said wasn't wrong, so they might fight back. And in conclusion, everyone needs to be aware of what they're saying and be careful of what words come out of their mouth because you never know if it could hurt someone. and everyone would be treated equally and we can be more unified as a country. After all, we live in one of the world's most privileged countries, and out of everyone, we should be able to fix this problem.
Okay, a couple of questions for you, Haley. How valid and reliable are the sources that you've used? How do you know? And which sources didn't work?
I think mine are pretty reliable because I watch the NBA a lot, so I know those players, and I've heard multiple things that they've said, so I really took that into account. And a lot of the quotes I used came directly from NBA players, so you know that they're around the area. And the sources that didn't work that I didn't put in there was people citizens of the United States, and they were from biased sources like Fox News or CNN News, and I know they would lean towards one side, so I tried to keep those out.
Okay. And then my second one is, if you did have more time, what additional research would you conduct related to the issue?
I would for sure say not so much sports because I feel like I focused on sports the most, but I could have went broader out and maybe focused more on presidency and actual sit-ins or businesses and how jobs are affected by it and how it's just